Welcome to Year Shifter. He's Sean Capstick.
And he's Rene Verleau.
And Sean, why are we here?
We're here to discuss the merits of the Band of Horses in a show called Ear Shifter, where we are going to maybe trip each other up this time in terms of one who loves the band more and who has reservations about the band.
Whoa.
And along the way, we hope you learn a little bit about the Band of Horses and tune into more episodes of Ear Shifter where we're going to discuss bands that we love and feel more people should love them as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So you're right. We are going to talk about Band of Horses. It's funny because this is the first band where we don't even know who introduced the band to each other. In other words, I know I discovered this band through a Bike Trickster video. And how did you learn about this band?
Definitely McCaskill video.
Danny McCaskill. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But I think we did it separately somehow.
Well, I don't even remember how we got viral videos back then, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure that my kids showed me. They must have stolen some Betamax videos and we're like, what do you got with those Betamax things? And they showed me the guy doing tricks.
Right.
And it was compelling. It was super compelling. I watched it.
It was incredible.
I watched it on the subway coming over just to get me in the mood. And it's still amazing what he can do.
It still holds up. And they timed it beautifully too with the music, which made you pay attention to the music even more. Because that crescendo, that first crescendo part, he just busts out at that exact moment. So it's timed perfectly.
And he's done a million other videos. He's done more. I kind of lost track of them.
Yeah. But
he's done lots of them. And never had another song with that impact.
Yeah. Exactly.
Than the first one.
Yep. So let's talk about that. So let's talk about Band of Horses, the band that we both love, ? But I think we do. Okay. So they were formed in 2004 in Seattle after the breakup of Ben Bridwell. He's the main singer. After the breakup of his previous band, and they were called Carissa's Weird. Have you heard of them? I'd never heard of them. They have currently 140,000 monthly listeners. Not horrible. And I listened to them and they're really not bad. They're kind of a Sparkle Horse sort of vibe, kind of quiet, almost mumbly, but with a bit of a richer sound. So really not a bad band. So the story goes, Ben had his own record label and he had a few bands under that record label. At this point, he wasn't in a band, but he had a record label.
And this was the early aughts.
It must have been
Seattle,
the early aughts.
So the grunge scene is over. He's got a record label. Like everybody had a record label in Seattle. Yeah.
But he really didn't. He wasn't in his own band. And the way he became a member of Carissa's World is because the drummer left. I'm pretty sure it was the drummer because he said they had slow songs so I could handle the drumming, I think is kind of what he alluded to. So he became the drummer for Carissa's World. They then toured and he toured with them and they eventually broke up. But after the breakup, he realized I kind of like this life and I think I should learn guitar maybe. So we actually used Carissa's Weird's kind of rehearsal studio that was still there. And he'd go there and he'd just learn guitar. And that's how he actually formed Band of Horses ultimately. So kind of an interesting driver, kind of unique. And by the way, originally they were briefly known as Horses. I think Band of Horses is much better.
Oh, Horses is a good album by Patti Smith, but
that I would agree
record, a band name, Horses is.
Band of Horses feels better, yeah. So he really is the sole constant member of Band of Horses. I counted the number of members that have been in Band of Horses in 20 years. Within 20 years, 12 different members.
Not including the band he joined and broke up.
Which one's that?
When he was the drummer.
Oh, the Carissa's. No, not including that one. No, this is Band of Horses. I have never, so on Wiki.
So is he hard to get along with?
I don't know, man. I don't want to say either way. All I want to say is the wiki page, I've never seen this in a band's wiki page. They actually had a bar chart or at the bottom that kind of showed you when the members came in and left, just kind of like, so you could wrap your head around these 12 members that had come and gone. Some of them came back, right? And to be fair, when I really dug in, I mean, there are 3 members that have been there with him since 2007. So that's not bad. So the band initially got attention from Sub Pop Records after opening for, any ideas? I think you're going to like this.
Sub Pop. Okay. Sub Pop was kind of over by the mid 2000s.
Close to it.
So who did they have left?
I'll give you a hint. So this guy was a professor at Miami Film School, and he doesn't go by that. He goes by a band name. Rhymes with firin' and dine.
Rhyming hits don't help.
Iron and Wine. Remember Iron and Wine? Yeah.
Iron and Wine are amazing.
Yeah. So
and they were on Sub Pop?
They were on Sub Pop at the time. Time. So, and later in an interview, Ben said that he felt like Iron and Wine were forced to have Band of Horses open for Iron and Wine when they were in Seattle. So that's how Band of Horses kind of got recognized and kind of like got some bump from Sub Pop. And as a result, they released an EP called Tour EP. On Tour EP, there were 5 songs, but 3 of them we know well because they were on the first album. So Wicked Gill, The Great Salt Lake, which is actually one of my favorites, and The Funeral, which is the one we were talking about up front on this here podcast, because that is probably their most famous song of all time. I think it still holds up. Okay, so 2005, that Tour EP was released. Oh, and by the way, The Funeral on that EP was called A Billion Day Funeral. That was the original name of the song. Later, they shortened it. So the song, The Funeral, originally was about his aversion to social occasions and holidays. He kind of felt like, Christmas is kind of forced togetherness. New Year's Eve is that pressure to have the party of all parties. And he kind of felt like he compared that dread of that feeling towards those occasions to the dread that you feel when you're attending a funeral. So that's actually what it's about. So I think we should give a listen to The Funeral that we've talked about for, I feel like 20% of the show already.
Okay, let's hear it.
All right.
And coming up only to show you wrong. To the outside, the dead leaves, they are alone. For they die and have trees hang their every occasion I'll be ready for the funeral. At every occasion once more.
Okay. So the one thing I do want to say, similar to our Granddaddy episode, is some of their songs have that slow build. And so I would urge listeners to actually listen to the whole song if they've never heard it before, because again, we can only play a short clip of the song and it doesn't really do it justice in terms of that slow build. So that's the one comment I would make.
It's definitely a loud, soft song in the best way that loud, soft songs work.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so Pitchfork Media called that song the 67th greatest song of the 2000s. It's pretty good. And quite honestly, I love everything about that first album. So the first album, Everything All the Time is the name of it, in 2006. And Sean, this is going to shock you, but there's not a single song that I skip on that album. And that is a pretty big thing for Renee.
That is a big thing.
Yeah.
Curation is high in your listening. So the fact that somebody else did it for you all from one to beginning to the end, that Band of Horses, you're doing okay, Ben.
Okay. So what Ben said of the album, he said, I thought before recording that I really wanted an ELO sounding record with strings and keyboards and synths. But then as we got closer to it, we wanted to take a more raw approach. So what does that remind you of? Granddaddy? ELO? Right? He talked about ELO. So I thought that was interesting because we're going to get to where we're going to get to. A lot of these songs didn't really come from any lyric writing, let alone any singing ability, says Bridwell. A lot of the ways the words are sung were meant to hide or mask what's being said. But there are definitely words. I wrote them down on paper and everything, is what he said. So,
And maybe we can stop there.
okay.
So lyrically, the band has not progressed since the first record. The music is up front for sure, but lyrically, so I did a count. Funeral. There are less than 200 words total, and there's only 120 unique words.
Okay.
So, like poetry, it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blowing in the Wind, there's 300 words and 200 unique words, and it's tells a big story. So lyrically, it's obtuse, which is okay.
Yes.
You know, there's not a lot of lyrics, so you can put a lot of your own interpretation on it, and you know, the feeling of being ready for the funeral is something that doesn't have to be explained that much. It's more visceral. But it's interesting that he had that quote, that he uses words. It's not using full sentences or ideas or conveying something in a traditional lyricist way.
Yeah. And he does talk about his struggle with writing lyrics and even his music. But I think, you know, the more we do these, the more I see a lot of artists kind of second guessing themselves and struggling with.
Does he talk about his positivity? Because the lyrics are not very positive either.
No. He's actually said he's getting to a better place and he's writing, you know, we'll get there, but even the Things Are Great album, the most recent one, you know, of course that was tongue in cheek, but at least it's a little bit more positive than some of the earlier work is my thinking. So lyrically, I'm feeling like he's just not one of the greats, is fair to say.
He's not going to win a Pulitzer Prize,
Yeah, and he probably knows that.
which is okay.
Before recording their second album, which is called Cease to Begin in 2007, Ben decided to relocate the band from Seattle, because that's where they started, to his native South Carolina. Now, this album gives them their first hit album by reaching number 35 on the Billboard 200 and 47th best album by Rolling Stone that year as well. So they're on a trajectory, which is looking pretty good. And then, of course, No One's Gonna Love You gave them their first European hit single, reaching number 22 in Denmark. It's a weird thing, Sean. Scandinavia really gravitates to Band of Horses. Like even that tour EP, that little guy, actually made some marginal progress in, I think it was Sweden and probably Denmark, but like a couple of countries in Scandinavia.
They're depressed as well.
Yeah, that's true. They are depressed. They are depressed. Yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's
They like the
perfect for them.
tango
Yeah.
and
It's country. It's country. It's literally country. Okay. So I think what we should do is actually listen to No One's Gonna Love You.
Is ever gonna love you more than I do. No one's gonna love you more than I do. And someone, they could have warned you. When things start splitting at the seams and now the whole thing's tumbling down. Things start splitting at the seams and now things start splitting at the seams and now it's tumbling down
Okay, so I think that's probably one of my favorite Band of Horses songs because, again, emotively, the lyrics are so nice. It's an upbeating song. Now, maybe why is he saying it in a plaintive, kind of high-pitched, maybe a loss that he's not saying it in a way that, nobody's going to love you. And that's great. It may, but it still is nice. If you sit back and hum it, it's a nice song. It's an uplifting song. And certainly the music behind it has a happy feel.
Yeah, very positive feel. And lyrically, at least on the surface, seems very romantic.
Yes.
Right? On the other hand, when I looked at the lyrics a little bit deeper, it could be interpreted as no one's ever going to love you as much as I do. And they've broken up and he's just like, you're never going to get as good as me, right?
Or it's a country song and he's killed her.
Oh, no.
Because that's country music. That's why I like country music. Yeah.
That's why playing them backwards, it's always a happy ending. Okay. So I agree, though. That song is really beautiful. For that sophomore album, Cease to Begin, Ben Bridwell described the sound as, I guess the first record had some kind of country-ish leanings. I think there's maybe a little bit more of that feeling on this one, a little more down home, not so much indie rock. And I would kind of agree because there's a couple of songs on there. I think it was even the General Specific is kind of a crazy country song, but I really quite like it.
I like country. I'm serious. Like I think all country is a great combination. Now this is more country.
Yeah, it's a little bit more country. And then I think there's one song. Oh yeah. So the one song I'm not crazy about on this album is called The Mary Song. I don't know if you remember it, but it is so country. It's so on the nose country that I almost felt he was doing it like tongue in cheek. Like, let's just do this full on country song because I'm not a big fan of it, but boy, is it country. You don't remember it. Maybe it's kind of slow and it's just so country.
If there's two albums that I can listen to and I know the songs, this one and one that's coming up later.
Okay.
So I'm sure I like it. I like every song on this album.
Do you? Okay.
And I could listen to this album in the background. I'm sure that was part of the curse of CDs. You'd never know any lyric anymore or any song because you just put it on and it's in a mix. And at this point we had a CD player that actually would move the CDs. So you didn't even have to touch the CDs, right? It was at this time you were very removed from music. It wasn't even on your screen.
Yeah.
So I have no idea what the songs are called on this album, but I like it. Right.
Yeah.
And we listened to it a lot. It was background.
Yeah. But good background.
Good background.
Yeah. So for me, this album is a solid second. Is There a Ghost? The opening track, amazing. And, funny, Is There a Ghost is very similar in terms of start to The Funeral, kind of has that slow build, soft, and then gets big. But that first album is my favorite album of all six, for sure. This one's, I think, a close second. Okay, so that brings us to the third album.
Which I don't even remember.
Infinite Arms is what it's called in 2010. This one's recorded in North Carolina, not South Carolina. And so far, a guy by the name...
Better Carolina.
Don't be offended, the other Carolina. So far, Phil Ek has produced all of their albums. Now, in Infinite Arms, something happened where he had to go. And so Infinite Arms is the first album where they kind of self-produce. But the first two were Phil Ek. And I'm like, who is this Phil Ek producer dude? And so I kind of dug in a little bit there. And it turns out Phil Ek is like, we're a fan of Phil Ek. This guy has done, he's prolific as hell. So just for fun, I just want you to take a wild stab at any artist that he may have produced. And I'll give you a clue. We will definitely be covering at least two of the artists that I have here in the future.
So Northern U.S., Built to Spill?
Correct. First, wow, look at that. Out of the gate. You didn't cheat? You didn't look, okay. Yeah, so he's produced There's Nothing Wrong with Love, Perfect From Now On, Keep It Like a Secret, Ancient Melodies of the Future. Yeah. But he's also produced
the solid. We may have to have two episodes on Built to Spill at some time.
Yeah, exactly. But he's also produced
for you eager listeners. Keep in mind. Yes,
indeed. But Modest Mouse as well.
Another northern band.
Yeah. The Moon and Antarctica, which is my favorite Modest Mouse. The Shins, Shoots Too Narrow. Mudhoney,
Touch Me, I'm Sick.
Under a Billion Suns, but is that a song?
Touch Me, I'm Sick, the best Mudhoney song. Yeah.
Okay. The Dodos, Time to Die was it is my favorite Dodos album. Band called The Walkmen.
I haven't heard of those.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But probably good. Probably pretty good. And then the Black Angels, who I actually saw live, their Death Sun album, which I think is the only album I really liked. So, wow, right?
Okay.
Damn. Guy's impressive. Okay, so originally Infinite Arms was introduced as Night Rainbows when they were kind of touring. You know how bands will like play new songs that aren't out yet? So he always introduced it as Night Rainbows, but it turned out it was Infinite Arms. We don't know why it's called Infinite Arms. It was never covered. Here's the part that gets a little better. The band appeared on the BBC television series later with Jules Holland. Sean, can you tell us who Jules Holland is?
He is the singer from The Squeeze.
Yes, he's the
And
keyboardist.
very cool.
Very cool. And that show was iconic at the time. I think it was I think all the kids watched it and they kind of broke a lot of bands. So they played 3 songs, Compliments, Factory, and Northwest Apartment. And following this appearance, the band's first 2 albums entered the UK albums chart for the first time, and Infinite Arms entered the UK chart at number 21, giving the Band of Horses their first top 100 UK chart, and it debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200 as well. So weird to me because Infinite Arms is not one of my favorites, and you actually said I don't remember anything.
So
about
no,
Infinite Arms.
I do remember.
Okay.
I do actually remember. It's the next one that I couldn't remember at all.
Yeah, We'll get
this
to that
one's
one.
got the Rado on it, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
So
does.
yeah, so I hear, I love
It's
the
okay.
Rado. Yeah, I like the Rado.
It's
and
okay.
and the
I don't mind it.
yeah. So listening to it again, dropped out of general circulation.
Yeah.
Maybe the one of the songs comes up on a playlist, and you're like, oh
Yeah,
I like
it's
that.
all
I've
right.
heard that song for a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yes, I do remember this one.
Okay, so they're gaining momentum. They tour Europe, North America, Australia, New Zealand, and Japan in 2010. They opened for my wife's favorite band, which is
Oh, I can't remember.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl Jam. That's
Pearl
right.
Jam.
I
So
was trying to think of Katy Perry. I was trying to think of all these other bands that she might.
Yeah, so they opened for Pearl Jam, and they also opened for Snow Patrol in another tour. So they're definitely coming along. Infinite Arms is nominated for a Grammy Award in the Best Alternative category. It doesn't win, but it's also featured in Best Albums of 2010 lists. Q Magazine, NPR Listeners List, Filter Magazine. It just kind of blows my mind that, like we've talked about, yeah, Laredo placed number 28 on Rolling Stone's top 50 albums of 2010. But like those 2 previous albums are so much better. It's just a great example of timing, weirdness, probably that bike video. I think that's such a good point. That was 2009. So they're gaining attention and everyone's going, oh, let's see their next album. And they just like it because it's there.
But he's also a little bit happier on this.
I mean, yeah, okay. It's definitely out of the 6 studio albums, it'd probably be my 5th favorite. Yeah.
And we've talked how you like depressing music too.
Yes, we have talked about that a little ad nauseum, but yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's go to the next one, which we both
Can't remember.
It's called Mirage Rock. It has not a single. So you know what I looked at? I looked at listening. You know how many people have listened to this? Has the lowest listenings. The whole album has the lowest listenings out of all their albums. And quite honestly, I do not like a single song on this album. Like not one. And sorry, Ben, but we are fans. And maybe Ben would even acknowledge this too, because
Because he kicked the band out at this point.
I'm not getting into that whole skirmish thing. I'm going to just leave that one alone. But, lowest listens on Spotify. And I'm kind of like going, this album is just so bland. And so what's fun about doing this podcast is it gives me a reason to dig in and find out what happened. Why is this album so crap? Really? What is the differentiator? And the only thing I could find was that the producer was a guy named Glyn Johns. And it turns out this guy was the engineer on some Rolling Stones albums, The Who, Who's Next, Led Zeppelin albums. And I like all those bands, but I'm just thinking, Maybe he brought in just old school, and as a result, it just kind of became middle of the road, sort of unremarkable, really, music. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good, and it just washed over.
And they weren't Sub Pop at this time.
No, they're Columbia, and I think Polydor. They are switching record labels, so I didn't get into that too much. But they are no longer with Sub Pop for sure.
Yeah. So they've got different pressures, different expectations. And
Yeah, maybe. And then they're on the heels of the Grammy nom. Not that means anything, but maybe it does a little bit to an artist, right? And so they probably just felt a lot of pressure, right? So needless to say, this is number 6 on my 6 studio albums. I think we can leave that one behind. I think we've trashed it enough, and we can move on to the next album, which is not a studio album. It's called Acoustic at the Ryman, and it's the acoustic live album recorded at the Ryman in Nashville, and it was part of their acoustic tour of 13 cities, including
Toronto, that gave you goosebumps.
Yes, it
and I
did.
realized at that point that I'm never going to love it the way that you do. Because you were just like glowing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm having fun. Like, this is good. It's nice to hear these songs reinterpreted in a different manner. Maybe he played a lot of Mirage Rock at that time, and I got bored. You were still glowing from the other albums. But yeah, I remember seeing that show and not being moved the same way you were.
Wow. And can I just say, I think I was like a substitute invite.
You were a plus. You were last minute
Sub.
I don't know who couldn't go. Probably my wife.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about it or pay attention to it or anything. So I was so glad that I was like, oh yeah, I'll go to that. Actually, I remember being kind of flippant, going, I got nothing to do. Sure, let's go. And I loved it. It blew me away. And then we also saw them.
Totally blown away. Yeah.
And then we also saw them with my wife. She came, and your wife came. In Toronto as well, but I don't remember which album that was on. But anyway, so you and I have seen them twice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go to the next album, which is in 2015. The album is called Why Are You Okay?
And this is their best album.
My God, it'd be number 2 for me. Like, still, the first album is my favorite, but yeah, what I literally said, comeback album like crazy. Like, Jesus Christ, this album is incredible. And who produced it, Sean?
The guy from Granddaddy.
Yeah, Jason Lytle. Yeah. So the album title itself came from, he has 4 daughters, and it came from his young daughter hitting the phone, because young little kids just hit the phone randomly, and the autocorrect came out with "Why Are You Okay?" So that's how the album title came to be.
And why are the other ones? Because the album titles I find are very compelling, right? The Cease to Begin.
Yeah.
The Everything All the Time.
Yeah.
All right. Why Are You Okay? Mirage Rock. Again, not a
Yeah,
good
what?
album title.
Yeah.
But and the graphics are very similar, right? They are, all of the CD covers, the album covers are very similar in terms of, this. I can't remember what Mirage Rock looks like, but the first 3 are very dreamy, earthy.
Yeah.
Like have the green, the blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Why Are You Okay? Do you remember that album cover?
Light blue, and they're on a beach, I think, 2 people.
That are naked.
Okay.
And they're covering themselves up, and it's like they're really small in the distance, and why are you okay? Like, it's just so it's like even the album cover's interesting.
Yeah. I can't speak to why he named the other ones. I do have the answer for this one. I do have the answer for the next one too. Mm-hmm. But I just couldn't find answers to the other ones. So this is the one where he approached Jason Lytle to produce the album, but he described it more as like, Jason Lytle, he literally says, is one of our heroes. This is what he actually says.
So Ben's got something, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And he said he looked to Jason as more of a mentoring role, because Jason comes from a musician, studio rat, singer, lyricist sort of background. He didn't say skateboarder, but that's kind of what he was looking for in terms of mentorship. And I think it's interesting that lyricist is in there, that he actually said that, to your point. And Jason's also a fan of the band. So he felt like bringing Jason in, he's a fan of the band, we're a fan of him, this is going to go great. So he actually cites one song in particular, In a Drawer. And he says, that's a great example of where Jason came in and helped, because I'd been working on that song for years, trying to get that song right, all its moving parts. I just could never get them right. And then one day I just emailed Jason, kind of almost like a Hail Mary of an idea I had for it. And Jason kind of understood it and got it. And then Lytle and Jay Mascis.
So who suggested Jay Mascis?
I think Lytle did. That was the impression I got, that Lytle did. Jay Mascis, the listeners, is a Dinosaur Jr.
And a guitar god.
And the guitar god. Okay. Yeah. And then Ben said, at the very last second, Jason came in and saved the day. His quote, right? On that song.
So up until now,
yeah,
my thesis that every song is similar, right, is loud, soft, building. Maybe Mirage Rock's really different, but up until like these first 3 albums are very similar, country good, right?
Yeah.
And then In a Drawer is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the lyrics are still kind of obtuse. Now he's using less words, but it's sung by somebody else or co-sung. And now you can put whatever you want in that drawer. Like, what is he finding in the drawer? It's now he's using the space for more interesting ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did say that song was very different from all the others. They even have female singers on that song. So he said that really was a departure for them. And I agree. Like, that song is so different and so memorable. Crazy. So we're going to hear that song. Why not? Let's listen to it right now.
Do you love me? Which one is it? We should be living in a warehouse district. I take the day and the lesson it taught me. Passing off blame to anybody is easy. But darling, it shouldn't be like that. Can I go with you to the long drive now? Found it in the drawer. Found it in the drawer. Took a little time and now I found it in the drawer. Can't go on. I'll go on. There is no time. In the drawer. Hidden in the drawer. Found it at the bottom. I found it in the drawer. Can't go on.
What do you think, Sean?
Again, it's so different. I really like it. If we weren't just music critics and, just said what we don't like, if we actually knew more about music, we could probably talk about how it was in a different time signature and a different key that they normally use.
Totally was.
But yeah, it is a very nice song. And all of the songs are good on that album.
Casual Party, for me, first of all, it must be an echo or an homage to Weed Party from the first album.
Casual Party is a different type of song. Like it's written from a different perspective. He's describing a larger situation with more people.
Yeah.
And more complex. Again, different sound, different beat, different topics.
Yeah. And if we knew music, we could probably talk more about that. But I will say this, that Casual Party starts with a burst. There's no slow build. It just goes right into it. And the whole song is just very uplifting, great feeling, great running song, highly recommended.
It's a complete farce. Everything you do is a farce.
Talking television at the casual party. Here's some great new friends to get you started off. So start it off. Since Ben got that, he's a sociopath. He's only playing
got one more thing to say about this record, dude.
Okay.
You're gonna like this.
Kind listeners, don't fast forward.
Okay, so before we leave this album, there's one more thing I want to tell you. There was another famous producer that was on a part of this album, almost like a consultant. And do you know who that producer is? You want me to give you a hint?
Okay. As long as it's not a rhyming hint.
No rhyming hits. He produced the first Beastie Boys album.
Rick Rubin was on this?
Rick
No way.
Rubin
Really?
is a part of this, and I'll kind of get into how he was a part of it. But
Okay. I'm glad we didn't just jump to the next album.
see,
Okay.
I thought you'd love that, man. Okay, so Rick Rubin is a fan. He called
And a god.
and a god 100%. This is why I wanted to bring this up, dude, because I knew you'd love it. All right, so Rick Rubin's a fan, and he actually called the bass player at the time, Bill, just to see what they were up to. He asked them to come down, and they said, well, we're working on our next album. And he said, well, why don't you come down, play some stuff for me, and we'll just chat about it. That's it. So Ben went down, played him some stuff, and they just talked. And Ben described it as he kind of nudged a few of the songs in the right direction. And that's kind of what I followed. And some things I didn't follow, but those I did follow. I think it was like 3 songs in total that he had an influence on. So that's your Rick Rubin story. Pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Okay, so now we'll go to the next album. So Ben called this the sister album, or he said, at best, Kissing Cousins album to Why Are You Okay? And this is the 6th album, and the album is called Things Are Great. So he wanted the 2 albums to actually come closer in age as well, in terms of like the space between them, but it wasn't that quick because they took some detours along the way.
He fired his band.
Some stuff went on. Ben said he was going to call the album Because of Our Lives as a response to Why Are You Okay? Because of Our Lives. Makes a little more sense, for sure.
And positive.
And positive.
Resilient.
Yeah.
And in a good headspace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they switched everything up on the album, and then he didn't know what to call it. They actually had finished the album and then started over.
And who produced it before?
So this is where it gets weird. So Ben said, what is essential about Band of Horses is a bit of slop, in quotes. So he never really expanded on this, but I think he meant Band of Horses can be a bit messy. For example, he had to cut Jason Lytle as the producer from this album and start over, because he just felt like it just wasn't there. So, and he literally said,
outtakes then.
I know, right? I mean, what was that other album? But, and he literally said, that felt absolutely horrible because Jason Lytle is my hero, but it just wasn't there like the last one for whatever reason. He didn't get into the details. So the song Crutch became the first #1 song of all time. Like for them, their first #1 song is Crutch. So they on the Billboard charts. And so he was asked, how do you feel about that? And he said, well, the song is deeply personal and kind of sad. Agreed. This record, I deliberately told the damn story. I wasn't afraid to be brutally honest. Now, he never goes into what that means, but it turns out they actually just came out of a divorce. So I think that's a little bit what's going on this album as well, is he's just working that through. So let's give a listen to Crutch, and then we'll actually talk more about this album.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Crutch, and it's weird because that song feels very bouncy and kind of uplifting actually, but lyrically I think it's a little darker, but I would run to this song. And it starts with a punch, kind of like Casual Party as well. So again, for me, very solid album. I like so many of the songs on this one, basically the whole album, except for Ice Night We're Having. Again, just a little too country for me. But Sean, what about you?
So it's, I think, the first song, the warning signs.
Yeah.
And when, again, I was listening to Why Are You Okay all the time. And then this came out and, by now we were streaming. Now it was easy, but it didn't catch. But this song, I remember going back and listening to it. It's a pretty dark song.
Warning signs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to listen to that right now?
Sure.
Let's do that.
Small talk with a registered nurse. Not to cry in front of people at work. Well, that's hard, hard, hard. At times, get reminded of the earlier days. The end of April '78. That was a long, 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 long time ago. And you showed a lot of warning signs. You made dramatic situation right. Now your problem is mine. You don't want help.
Okay, so this song, first song on the album, right? And, so it opens up with a pretty provocative line, making small talk with a registered nurse. And then it's a conventional song in that he's telling a story. It's not, loud, soft emotions, feelings. So to me, and I was listening to this is about his mother and the problems that she had when he was growing up and how maybe that's affected him over the long term. But if I was going to stack rank all of the albums, it would be the second and the fifth by far.
Right.
And then everything else is kind of I like the first one because you made me listen to the Green album. Renee made me promise
To listen to it at least 3
done.
times.
Yeah.
I said, you have to listen to it at least 3 times.
And if you don't like it, then I can't remember what you said you would do. And I didn't have to commit to anything. I just had to listen to it 3 times.
Yeah.
And and I was like, thank you for bringing it back into the rotation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But, so I think that he's matured as an artist in writing songs and different topics and things like that, but still not a happy.
Yeah.
It's not goth, but that's a pretty, that's not a country opening line. Usually the country line is, I saw the nurse after a fight, as opposed to you're sitting in a waiting room with the nurse. Why do you like this record so much?
Well, I mean, I like this record because it is the sister album to Why Are You Okay? And I can totally see that. And that's why I like it. I like it equally to Why Are You Okay? But here's where it gets interesting is Metacritic gave it a 79 out of 100 and Pitchfork gave it a 7.3 out of 10. So all that to say, critics liked it. But I think that does go back to where you are in your life at that time. And maybe had you heard Things Are Great first and Why Are You Okay second for whatever reason, maybe that would have registered more. Who knows, right? Hard to say. But I did love it, and I did feel like very much it was a sister album in the best sense of the word. So the question is not are they an ear shifter band, but why are they an ear shifter band?
So I think that they're an ear shifters band because they have inspired, not that he's the first falsetto country artist, but he took what he's got and did make a pretty good run of it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a better answer than mine. Mine is, I just feel like, yes, they have 3 million monthly listeners, but I still run into people that are seemingly into music and they've never heard a Band of Horses. And that kind of to me, that makes it an Ear Shifter band in and of itself, because that is exactly why we're here, is to introduce bands to people that maybe have never heard the band before. And I know that's weird and shocking, but believe me, I've run into it more than 2 or 3 times where like, you've never heard a band, like they know all sorts of bands that you and I know, but they don't know who Band of Horses is. So that's why I think it's an Ear Shifter band. So do you want to give a hint for the next episode, or you want to keep it a secret?
So if we're going to do bands with 1 million listeners, then I will do a band that I can't believe has the other people like them, because you have said that they were created just to make me happy.
Yeah, I know which band that is. Okay, perfect. And I think they were. I really do. So yeah, we'll cover them next time, guys. Thanks so much. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ear Shifter. Tune in next time where we'll cover another band that deserves more. You can find Ear Shifter on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Friend us or listen to our playlists on Spotify, and visit earshifter.com for more information. Special thanks go to our logo designer, Stuart Thursby, and our intro-outro music by Joe Novak. You can find him as Bye Bye Badman, one word, on SoundCloud. And a big shout out to Joe for being our awesome sound engineer / editor. Until next time.